right, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
I just got a notification saying the Moohead radio show started.
There you go.
Damn,
It's Monday, and that means it's time for me. And I got to put this up onto my Twitter feed so everybody will know where the show is located. And I've done my part. Now you guys do the voodoo that you do so well. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host.
It's the Moohead radio show.
What?
It's the Moohead radio show on my phone.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can see it any number of places. It's really a remarkable feat of technology. Hi to Jake. Hi to Rick. Hi to Bork. Hi to me, and hi to Rox.
Hey.
Oh, that's a Benny Hill salute. Good. Very good. All right. I like that. I like. No, it's like this, Rick. You can. You got to tap the bald guy in the head. All right. So we got a lot to talk about today, and well, maybe not that much, but I'm exaggerating. But at any rate, the Indians start up a series at the Rogers Center in Toronto, so that's going to be interesting to see if the Cleveland Indians can play away from home. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is A Sale of Two Titties, one of my favorite novels by Darl's Chickens. You probably know the book.
It was the best of times.
A Sale of Two Titties. It's yeah. But this is actually a tale of two cities in a way. Something remarkable happened, and in the world of boxing, Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, which is just unexpected as far as I'm concerned. I watched Manny Pacquiao get knocked out cold by a smaller fighter, and this was an undefeated guy who's naturally a much bigger man than he. And at 40 years of age, he not only knocked him down, he legitimately won the decision. It was really quite a performance by a 40-year-old guy. The thing that really makes it interesting is, after the fight, Pacquiao was kind of talking about things that names, and the names were names from another era. He's talking about, well, when I fought Julio Cesar Chavez and when I fought Oscar De La Hoya. It's
wow.
Like,
that's
just how long this guy's been around. It's just unbelievable. He won what was called a split decision. How anybody could have given the fight to Thurman, I'm not sure. But it was not one of those Manny Pacquiao runs away and hides kind of performances. This was a true fight in which there were blows struck repeatedly, and how Pacquiao held up, I have absolutely no idea. Basically, Pacquiao started out as a flyweight. Now at 40 years of age is fighting a guy who is a legitimate bigger guy. I mean, we're talking about a guy who probably was fighting 30 pounds over his prime weight and still winning the match. I watched Pacquiao get knocked, not just knocked out. I thought it would be the last time I ever saw Manny Pacquiao fight against Juan Manuel Marquez, in which Marquez just clocked him, and face first, he was turfed, face planted into the canvas, and it was over. And I thought, that's the end of Manny Pacquiao. And he fought a fight and lost to a fighter named Jeff Horn, an Australian guy. And Jeff Horn was given the fight, even though people said Pacquiao technically won, but he looked terrible in the fight. Absolutely. But in the last 3 months, he has defeated Lucas Matisse, who is a big puncher, Adrian Broner, who is a fighter held in good esteem, and now this one over Thurman. Thurman, now 29-1. Unlike so many fighters, he was honest. And he said, like I always said, I got to know, I'm not afraid to let it go. If you can beat me, beat me. Well, I was beaten tonight, and that's the sport of boxing, baby. So Thurman thoroughly admitted that he was defeated in this fight, so there is no questions to be asked. It's incredible that Pacquiao, with 72 fights on his record, 486 rounds, it's remarkable that he continues on. I don't know how it's possible. 62, 7-2 with 39 knockouts. He was wearing dark sunglasses at the news conference, not to be a Corey Hart fan, but to hide the damage that was doled out during the course of the fight. Now, here's what he said, and this is crazy. I think I can rank this along with the Antonio Margarito fight, the Oscar De La Hoya fight, the second Eric Morales fight, the second and third Marquez fight, and the first Marco Antonio Barrera fight. I mean, these are people who are not even fighting anymore. I mean, it's like he has survived every one of these people and has gone on.
Sorry to interrupt, but you know what's good about that? That he's able to remember those fights.
Yeah, exactly.
Having CTE and not being able to remember any of them, because I don't even remember some of them. So good job, Manny, for remembering those fights.
The thing about Pacquiao is that he, unlike Oscar De La Hoya, who was a squat to pee sissy, I mean, Pacquiao literally fought everybody. He's not even mentioning the fights that he had against Miguel Cotto and Ricky Hatton.
Ricky Hatton, oh my God.
Or two of them against Timothy Bradley Jr. These are fighters who were all championship fighters. And
well, maybe not Ricky Hatton.
But Ricky Hatton was a champion. You may not. He was also a blithering mess of a human being, but still. Yeah. Yeah, he just had problems, that's for sure. But, you know, but the reason that I am contrasting this story, like I said up front, is we have another fighter who you're probably familiar with from overseas, Anthony Joshua.
Oh, I love him. I saw him live in person at the Olympics in his semifinal bout.
But Anthony Joshua, who was the guy they were setting up for the big fight against Deontay Wilder in the heavyweight division, ended up losing to Andy Ruiz Jr. If you didn't see it, he was knocked out in the 7th round.
Yeah, sort of like losing to James Buster Douglas, really, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the fact is that Ruiz 33-1, but nobody really took him very seriously. The first fighter of Mexican descent to win the world title. And he did it convincingly, and he won virtually every round of the fight. Joshua now has decided to say that he was confident going into the fight, praising his training beforehand, but said that Ruiz was not the man he wanted to be facing and had trouble getting his mind right for the bout. It's hard. I'm trying to psych myself up, but I don't have any envy or hate for this guy, Joshua said in an explanation. We haven't even done a press conference, so I didn't feel hyped up. It's hard when nobody's worrying about a guy. They're thinking about the next guy down the line. He's a good fighter. That's why we picked him. We didn't pick him because he's an easy walk in the park. Well, what he's saying, in essence, is I only get up for the big fights.
Yeah.
And that's not what a champion does.
I mean, I could give a little background on Joshua. Prior to the 2012 Olympics, he had only been boxing for a very short period of time. I want to say like less than 3 years. And it was because he was discovered, and some friend of his said, oh, man, you got to try boxing because you're such a stud athlete. So he had never fucking boxed until like a couple of years before he was like in the Olympics. So he doesn't have that background of always wanting to be a boxer. He probably, you know, that probably wasn't even his favorite sport growing up. So you gotta wonder about his motivation sometimes. And this is why he got found out, because, you know, he didn't prepare for this fight properly.
We're welcoming 3 panelists, Brian and Philip and Jim. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
We all got to sing happy birthday to Jim. It's his birthday today.
Oh, that's right. I saw that on
Happy birthday,
Happy
Hammer
birthday.
Toes.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday, you John Goodman look-alike. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Way to go.
Hey, it could be worse. He could be a William Conrad look-alike.
Oh no! Don't go there. You know, I will dredge up a story of my my mother. My father used to watch this horrible.
My mother was William Conrad.
No. This is a William Conrad story. Wait a minute. My father used to watch Cannon, that horrible television.
Oh yeah.
Okay? And so it was a totally unbelievable premise that a corpulent old guy,
Appropriately obese, let's be honest.
yes, and that he would, and the guy who voiced the narratives of the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons would be a private investigator who could run people down with a gun. It just seems really preposterous. So one day he's watching that horrible program, and my mother waltzes in the room, looks at the TV, and she says, "Oh, look, it's Boom Boom." Boom Boom Cannon, Mom. You got it right.
Yep. Tallahassee Lassie. Great song.
But my mother wasn't even buying it. And she didn't even watch the fucking program. She looked at the TV and said, nah, he's corpulent. He couldn't possibly do this. Let's call him Boom Boom. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you for reminding me of my mother.
Well, and he also, before Rocky and Bullwinkle, when he was doing radio, he was the voice of Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. All right. So
I can die happy now. I've been serenaded by a cow. So
yeah, it's very few people.
And called Hammer Toes by a horse.
Live to tell about that. Yeah. But to put it in perspective, I mean, I can look at the greatest champions in boxing history in the heavyweight division. And I mean, Muhammad Ali fought some bums. Let's be honest. I can go back to the Bum of the Month Club with Joe Louis, and I can talk about the people that Rocky Marciano fought, the bums that, I mean, people was like, Roland Lastarza, people who are like, oh my God, well, how did he get a title fight? And, but Muhammad Ali fighting Jean-Pierre Koopman, who is the worst challenger in the history of the heavyweight division from Belgium. Fighters don't even exist in Belgium. I mean, they make chocolate there, for God's sakes, and frites. There's just no. But you get up for every opponent. There is no excuse for, with your belt on the line, there is no damn excuse for this. And it's, when I saw Anthony Joshua, and he said that on the very day that Manny Pacquiao did what he did, it's just, this will tell you the difference between real champions and paper champions. The real guys do the job. The others talk. It's lip service, and they're waiting for the next big pay-per-view, and it's really disappointing.
Well, doesn't that go against his agent's claim that he had like a panic attack before the fight and was knocked out the week before too?
Who? Joshua?
Yeah, he had a panic attack before the fight. And
really?
Yeah, that's what his agent said. So it doesn't make sense that he's saying that he didn't get up for the fight and couldn't get motivated because he had anxiety issues before the fight. I don't know if that's his agent did. His agent did.
He had damn good reason for having him, it appears.
But it's just conflicting stories. I don't know if he's trying to go back and get his aura back, but
yeah, well, it's all excuses. And the bottom line is that a guy, I mean, God, Ruiz looks kind of pudgy. He's capable in the sense that he was capable of doing what he did. But, I've seen guys walk into the ring totally not ready to fight. Guys who literally, like, I remember when Ken Norton went into the ring against Muhammad Ali and he was hypnotized and he won the fight in San Diego, and so Ken Norton became the next big thing. And then I watched Ken Norton get into the ring with Ernie Shavers with his eyes glazed over, and he was scared shitless and got knocked out in one round. These things happen. Fighters sometimes go in a less than optimal state of mind, but I'll tell you one thing. when a fighter gets knocked out, it's very easy to get knocked out again and again and again, and confidence wanes. He's a 29-year-old fighter, even though he hadn't been around that long. And you got to wonder now if he questions his chin, because Ruiz, I don't think is known as a big banger. He got chopped down to size by a guy who wasn't even that big of a heavyweight. I mean, we're talking about guys today who are 6'7", and he lost to what was really a regular sized heavyweight from years gone by.
Joshua's fucking huge, though, if you see him in person.
He's massive, yeah.
He is, not quite the same size as LeBron, but he ain't that far off.
No, I mean, all of these guys, whether it's Joshua, whether it's Deontay Wilder, all of them, they're really not that good. I mean, Deontay Wilder has a real suspect chin, and when he gets hit, you're all going to see him just crumple like a house of cards. First, now on the agenda for Cleveland Browns fans is what we call the Baker Mayfield impact, or the Baker Mayfield effect. I was just looking through information. Maybe I can share this, share my screen so that you can take a look at what I'm looking at numerically. I find, the monetary aspects of let me share this, of football to be very interesting. This is Baker Mayfield's, and what I've done is I've tried to increase the size of the font so that not only the viewers can see this better at home, but I can with these fucking glasses that I'm trying to get used to. But you can see that a base salary of $480,000, then 570 his second year, 660 in his third, and 750,000 in 2021. There are lots of bonuses and roster bonuses and things like that go into effect. But what it really boils down to is that the cap number that he's taking up from $6 million up to about a little over $10 million by the time 2021 comes around, the value in 2021 of that cap number is 3 times less than what his open value will be on the market when 2021 arrives. With 2020 being a target year for the negotiations between the players' unions and the league, there is some talk of a work stoppage potentially in 2020, because there are some real issues that the players are not happy with. And probably one of them is for quarterbacks. I find, and I'm going to see if I can put this up on the screen, I think that there was something here that was talking about players' values and how they dropped. Here you go. Sam Bradford in 2010, you see where I'm reading, they signed him to a 6-year, $78 million contract with $50 million in guarantees. The next season, with the new collective bargaining agreement in place, which will expire in 2020, Cam Newton, the number 1 pick, a 4-year deal worth $22 million. Yeah, if you're Sam Bradford, you're like the luckiest guy in the world. Andrew Luck signed a similar deal when he was the number 1 pick in 2012, So the cost controlling of quarterbacks, as they're calling it in the article, eventually it's going to blow up, because by 2021, Baker Mayfield, if he decides he's going to go someplace else, is going to get such a huge amount of money, and the Browns would pay him anything to stay, assuming that he stays healthy and continues playing at the level that he played. But then looking at quarterbacks, I mean, it's unbelievable. Stafford signed a 5-year, $135 million contract in 2017. This is what becomes of players when their initial values spiral through the roof. Look at some of these numbers with Garoppolo, a 5-year, $137.5 million deal. Matt Ryan, 5 years, $150 million extension. Aaron Rodgers, a 4-year, $134 million extension. Ben Roethlisberger, 2 years for $37.5 million. I mean, it's unbelievable. And one of the great bargains, Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, 4 years, $140 million to re-sign him. and the deal runs through 2023. You see, when he's 35 years of age. And then there's mentioning that Carson Wentz just added a ton of money to his deal too. So what this does is it allows teams to keep a lower cap. And, you know, it may not be great news for young quarterbacks coming out, but at the same time, I think it's good news for the league, because if you have a Baker Mayfield brought in and his cap space allows you room, you can actually build a team around him. Unlike other sports where you have to pay one guy such an extraordinary amount of money that there's no way to actually build a viable team around him. So Browns fans should feel happy about it, but the players union is not real happy about it, and they're arching their back. And the word is that in 2020, there's going to be a real hard fight between 18-game season proponents and the bargaining agreement changes that the players union wants. It's going to be a real mess. Let's start with Philip. I know you're a big Browns fan, Philip. If you had to say the biggest effect of Baker Mayfield up to this point, what is the biggest effect that he's had?
I'd have to say culture change, attitude change, leadership, all of the intangibles. I mean, he's a great thrower of the football, obviously, but just the attitude change. And I don't really see, like, to tie into your point, I don't see him demanding to be the number one salary quarterback. I think he'd rather win over a long period of time. And so he'll work with the Browns to keep him and to keep other good players on the team. Just, you know, just an opinion.
All right, Jim, what do you think the biggest effect on the team he's had so far?
Renewed interest by the fans. You know, one thing is you brought up all those people that were there throwing out their, what would you say, their morals in the case of Ben Roethlisberger. But before Baker Mayfield came to Cleveland, would you not pay all those people that amount of money to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns up until Baker Mayfield got here? Absolutely. You would be glad to pay all those people that amount of money because of how good they are. And it just shows that value of what that quarterback is. And he made people care about the Browns again. And look at the price of tickets. They're going to be able to pay them because people want to see the Browns. They're going to be on prime time because people want to see the Browns. So that's where it is. Enthusiasm for the team.
Jim, while you mentioned that, I have I was over at realcavsfans.com. I still actually do have a few friends in the world. And I was asking a question on the forum. I'll ask you the same question. My NFL Game Pass, I just re-upped it. You know, it automatically kind of re-updates, but I had to change credit cards on it. That shows preseason games live, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But
100%.
Yeah,
we get them on local TV in Columbus. So
yeah, you see, but here's the deal. I'm looking at this thing and it's saying, well, the Browns were on at 8 at 11:30 p.m. It's like, nah, no, that's not. The game's at 7:30. I mean, I know that WEWS in Cleveland is the home channel that is broadcasting all of the Browns preseason games. And I assumed that the NFL Game Pass would pick up that as the home feed for the Cleveland Browns fans. But I'm not exactly sure. Go ahead, help me.
I've been on NFL Game Pass for longer than live. They pick up on the preseason, they pick up the home feed. So if it's a home game, you'll get the home guys. You'll get Birdie, and you'll get whoever, Jim Donovan or whatever knucklehead they decide to drag out. On the away games, you will get the home announcers. So last year I watched the Detroit Lions guys.
Right.
Were quite good. I forget the other away. Chicago might have been the other away preseason or something.
Now, how are you watching these games, Bronk? Which methodology are you using?
On this computer right here. So
Okay.
using that online, I don't box it or do any other bullshit with it because life's too short to fuck around with it when it's the Browns.
Well, if you go into the NFL Game Pass site right now, what do you see? I mean, I went in, and it's really funny. I have a Roku box, and they say I can stream that on Roku too. But the thing is when I go on there, and it's showing that the game's going to play at 11:30, and it's like, no.
Okay, so that's your question. You want to know what time the actual kickoff is for these preseason games?
No, I know that it's at 7:30, but what's the point of NFL Game Pass if they're going to show the game at 11:30? I can't do a halftime and post-game show if the game's already happened.
NFL Network, I know, will broadcast stuff tape delay.
Delayed, yeah.
Yeah, they'll do a tape delay, so I can see that happen. And maybe they're taking the NFL Network feed and broadcasting that for preseason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go into the browser in which I'm signed in for that, so that's gonna take a minute. So give me a minute to do this.
And the only thing I could pick up is that the Hall of Fame game, of course, is on the 1st of August, and it's saying that there's no video available. So I think that is a national telecast, probably on either ESPN or I'm not sure who's showing the Hall of Fame game, So I'm not showing that as an option either, as far as watching that. So I'm confused. So if anybody out there in Moo Land wants to explain this to me in the comments after the program, please feel free, because I'm just a confused cow. All right. So now we'll go to Jake. Jake, the biggest impact that Baker Mayfield has had so far on the Browns?
I would think the overall energy as well, because like it or not, what he's doing with Cowherd is bringing the Browns and him attention, and his attitude can bring other players to Cleveland. If they like that he's that guy that's standing up for anybody, he can bring players to Cleveland with that. So he's a leader, and that's what the Browns need.
Rick?
Pretty much echoing what everyone else says. He's making football interesting again after about 20 years. People are talking about it, and I think they're just genuinely excited that we're just looking forward to seeing what the season holds instead of, oh well, here comes preseason again. I wonder, how we're going to dredge our way through this, and you start looking fondly forward to the Cavs games. And that's the last thing you want. So he's brought interest back to the game of football, and he's just going to be sort of a lightning rod. Everyone's going to want to watch to see what's he going to do next.
All right. Rox, I want you to do me a favor and keep an eye on the YouTube chat room, just in case, people, because I'm going to say hi to Pat Seagramson, who's in there. So hi. And to the other people who are watching along the line, Mr. Fergus in Amsterdam, and Brian is back in the chat room because his computer blew up in his face. And it looks like a lot of stuff being talked about in there, but nothing that I can really follow. So do me a favor and follow that for me so I don't miss out on anything. I wanted to answer my own question on this. To me, it's easy to say that there is a big adrenaline rush amongst Cleveland sports fans because of Baker Mayfield, and the fact that we might finally have a quarterback who can win. But to me, the biggest impact that he's having right now, Bronk is saying, I got an NFL answer. What's your answer, Bronk?
Well, I'm on NFL Game Pass right now, and when there's a menu at the top that says home games. For me, it has Browns because I got them as my favorite team. NFL Network, NFL Browns, blah, blah, blah. Right. When I click onto that, it lists all 20 games and their times of when they start. And it's in UK time. So for the first preseason game, mine is at 30 past midnight on the 9th of August. So for your time, it would be 7:30.
Yeah.
And then for the Colts game, it says 9 p.m., which would be 4 p.m. your time. And again, the other two preseason games are 7.
Could you share your screen, Bronk? Do you have that capability to share that screen with me so I can see? Because I know you're utilizing the overseas version. which
this is bang on. This is never wrong these times, because I have it set to.
Oh, I know when the games are. I just can't figure out why my computer is not accessing. It's just not showing. It's showing that the game's going to be played, but it might be too early for it to. I mean, and I click on it. It says preview.
Okay, where's the menu for me to share screen? Is it probably on? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you can share a screen, that would be kind of cool. But at any rate, I'll continue what I was saying while you try to figure that out. To me, it's the players that surround Baker Mayfield. There are a number of players who it seems that with Baker Mayfield's inception as the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, that their stock and value increased. All right. It's a damn good thing that Greg Robinson, cuckoo, God bless you, please, that he came through, because Desmond Harrison has turned out to be an ultimate troublemaker and will never that'll never amount to anything because he's in trouble with the law. But Greg Robinson was pimped specifically by Baker Mayfield. If you remember, that he really stumped and lobbied for Greg Robinson to be his guy on the blind side, and he a frontline offensive lineman, and his value. He get to sign a 1-year prove it deal for about $7.7 million. But the question is, would Greg Robinson be where he is if it weren't for Baker Mayfield? The other thing that's interesting, Antonio Callaway. Antonio Callaway is a guy who kind of was not in the best physical condition and was dropping passes left and right. If you remember the one game where a 76-yard pass was nullified because of a penalty, and then a few plays later they threw a 71-yard pass and he was stripped on the 6-yard line and lost a fumble. He had some real difficulties during the season, and Baker Mayfield stood by him. He got better as the year progressed. Here's the deal. He has come into camp in much better physical condition. And according to all the people that I'm talking to, he looks explosive, and he may be a better receiver than what we think. The same thing is true of Rashard Higgins, who was basically cast asunder by the Cleveland Browns and became a fixture with Baker Mayfield when Baker Mayfield was running the taxi squad before, Tyrod Taylor, died in that tragic train accident. So that was the Hugh Jackson train accident that I'm referencing.
Runaway train.
Yeah. All right. So Bronk is saying he's ready to share. Go ahead. And as long as it's not your pants. All right.
Yeah, that's well, I've tried to avoid that.
I was going to say, I think anyone would. All right. LeBron has started a screen sharing. Yeah. Right. Okay.
This is NFL Game Pass. This is what it looks like at home.
All right. And if you actually clicked on that Browns Washington it'll flash that there's a preview. Am I correct?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, I'm going to see if yours is behaving the same way mine. This game is scheduled.
17 days and 55 minutes, which is exactly bang on, because 55 minutes from now will be 12:30 in the morning.
Very interesting.
So I don't know.
Mine isn't doing that, though. It's not saying game is scheduled.
Yeah, but you have all sorts of odd problems that nobody else has. So
yeah, that's right. I have all kinds of mental problems. So
anybody else want to see anything while we're on NFL Game Pass?
No. You can go ahead and stop your
I can show games from last year on here still.
But I can cut you off the air if you don't stop. So let's not forget who's got the biggest dick in this room. Okay, that would be Rick. And
yeah, DG's not here anymore.
It's always the guy you least expect,
Yeah, it's the quiet ones you got to watch.
No, I'm not sure how to unshare this now. How do I?
stop share. It should say.
Well,
That's what Sonny tried to do.
I might have to go out of the meeting here.
No. If you go at the top of your screen, look in the top of your screen, not at the bottom. You want to look at the top, and it should say stop share next to what you're doing.
Well, see, I got everything in. I have the big screen here, and then I've got like a side panel that has everybody's face.
Where's the gypsies, tramps, and thieves part of it? So.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to get out of this.
Yeah. He can't get out of it, folks. So we're stuck with Bronk's screen. Isn't that wonderful? This is what happens.
Well, I'm going to log out of the meeting and let you carry on.
Yeah, well, come back, for God's sakes. We don't want to lose you. All right. So Rashard Higgins was a guy who, God, he blowed up real good.
Boom! Gone.
But Rashard Higgins was cast asunder by the Browns and was the amazing $2 million deal guy. And he got his reps in with Baker back in, the days of when Baker wasn't starting. And once Baker became a quarterback, he became a more valuable member off the bench and caught everything that was thrown at him. And so he re-signs with the Browns as a result. So he was broadly impacted that way. I can't help but think that players gain confidence, and I think that he has the confidence of Jarvis Landry, and he's going to have to earn the trust of OBJ, who could be a bit temperamental if he doesn't see the ball X number of times in a game. But he has very good field vision, Baker Mayfield, and he uses his players. When a quarterback gets more out of offensive linemen, I think that says a lot. I think what I'm looking for is for him to give a spark to the defense, the old get me the ball kind of thing. What are you pointing at, Rox?
Bronk is back. Needs to be promoted to panelist.
Okay, there he is, and we will do that. We'll promote him.
And that's my signal for look at chat.
I was wondering what you were doing.
That's your cue.
God only knows what that meant. Thank you, Bronk. I will unmute you. Thank you, though. I appreciate your help on that very much.
The bottom menu, where I originally was allowed to share, disappeared when I went full screen, so I couldn't find that bottom menu.
Oh, wow. That's a little glitchy, isn't it?
Unless it was like auto-hiding itself.
I wonder if you could just hit an escape and get back out of it like you can in PowerPoint.
There's got to be a way to do it, but I didn't want to waste you guys' time to find it, so there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I think that it is interesting that everybody feels the adrenaline rush, okay? I mean, even former Browns, Rashad Perryman, was made to look far better than he was by this quarterback. And the fact that he ended up getting $4 million from the Buccaneers after we signed OBJ and his agent said, no, Rashad's not coming back to Cleveland. The fact that somebody else would give him that kind of money was because of what he did when he was playing with Baker Mayfield. It's really remarkable. And the other thing, the guy who's probably the one who should drop down to his knees and kiss Baker Mayfield's feet is Drew Stanton, who is all but forgotten. But, he was just looked upon as an extra, a walk-on in essence. And now he is the second string quarterback. And Freddie Kitchens insists that Stanton can play. As he puts it, he's not there to be a secular coach. He can actually play. Well, I hope we never find out if that's the case, to be honest with you. But Stanton probably under no other circumstance would be number 2 on a depth chart without Baker Mayfield. So I think these things are interesting in that regard. So
let's also calm down about all this. during the draft of the previous year when Baker Mayfield was selected, and then all during Hard Knocks, and then to the initial games, and then we finally won a game. All during that period, there were all sorts of internet memes about Baker Mayfield, he's a dickhead, or he's an asshole, or he planted the flag at Ohio Stadium, or he did this, he did that. Nearly 90% of those fuckers have shut the fuck up. Other teams are getting bantered now, not the Browns. I am fucking ribbing everybody I know who's a Giants fan mercilessly, and they're fucking not hitting back. That's the big thing. That's one of the big things that has changed. The Browns not only now have swagger because we deserve it, because we actually have talent on this team that can go to the playoffs.
It's interesting. You want to talk about a former Cleveland Brown. How about Sashi Brown going to the NBA? He's going to the Washington Wizards. Now that somehow makes bizarre sense to me.
Who's the guy on Moohead Radio 10 years ago who's the cap space guy? What was it? Was it like In Booby We Trust or somebody?
Yeah. He was Mr. Cap Space.
Mr. Cap Space. And then suddenly, the thing in Miami happens and he disappeared, this bloke. Because, oh no, it can't happen.
Sashi, either love him or hate him, Brown is going to the Wizards, another totally dysfunctional place. Wonderful. He's going to be the chief planning and operations officer for Monumental Basketball, and along with Daniel Medina will have his hands in all three teams underneath the aegis of that group. He's going to work closely with ownership and manage business matters related to technology, finance, communications, security, research, and player engagement for all the teams, players, general managers, and coaches. So he's back on his feet in big league sports, not in the same sport that he was in Cleveland, but boy, a polarizing figure in Cleveland. I mean, you'll find people who believe in him and people who simply don't believe in him. So for Indians fans, 7:07 start time at the Rogers Center. It's Clevenger against Ryan Borkucky, and I really don't know.
Borkucky.
I know. Geez, all over his face. It's disgusting. They're gonna have
no control.
I would love to see a
Borkucky.
A Bukkake bobblehead day. Kind of disturbing.
Make it stop.
Press a button, it straightens up. What?
It's like, God, it automatically has little windshield wipers and wipes its face clean. I don't know. I don't want to know.
That's just wrong.
Well, no, I mean, it was.
I think I started all that. That's wrong.
Kaz Tadano. Francisco Lindor will be leading off Mercado second. Mercado, boy, he's having a hell of a year. I mean,
he can't field, though. When is he going to fucking field a fly ball and make it look like he can catch it easily?
Look, I'm not going to tell you that the guy is a superstar in the outfield, but yikes. I mean, he had that 1 for 21 slump, and I said teams have figured out how to pitch to him, and he's been on a tear since then, up to about a 296 batting average.
Every time I go on Facebook or a forum and slag the idiots off, they go on a 3-game winning streak against some idiot team. So, the more I do that, the more they win.
Well, the issue is everybody else in the outfield was barely batting their weight.
Yeah, I mean, they had to move him up because nobody was performing. So, yeah, there you have it.
Is Kipnis batting his weight?
240, I think, somewhere around there.
Well, he's had a couple cheeseburgers lately, so I don't know. It's probably borderline right there, right?
I'll tell you, nobody can question his arm. It sucks. And nobody can question his range. It's minimal. I mean, you're not going to sell me on Jason Kipnis. My God.
I don't know why that was just funnier than it really seemed it needed to be, but
yeah, well, it's just
on the mark.
You take somebody one way and you bring them another way real quick.
Yeah, it's what's after we had pretty much almost buried them in June. They're leading the wild card in 3 games.
I I know, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
I am firmly off.
Sunshine is back, and I mean, and Jose is actually hitting the ball now, which is
he looks like himself, and But you know what the funny thing is that last year, if you remember, he got off to this rapid start, but the last month and a half of the year and in the playoffs, he disappeared. Right?
He's a hot mess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe he should work on his conditioning or something. I don't know what to tell you about that, but it's not like he played a full year last year for all the good numbers that he had. And he's definitely not played a full year this year, but we need him in the second half of the season. Obviously, we need him to keep coming large.
He looked like when he was bad, he looked like a combination of the worst traits of Asdrubal Cabrera, Johnny Peralta, and Carlos Baerga, all rolled into one butterball of a person.
Well, the thing that I noticed about him more than anything was that he was popping up an inordinate number of balls. His pop-up ratio was incredibly high, which made me think that the trajectory of his swing somehow. I always thought of Ramirez as being a line drive hitter, and he has really good bat speed. It's a lot like Frankie Lindor. I mean, I really don't look at him as a big bopper, but he has such good bat speed. The last home run he hit, he was actually reaching across the plate, and his bat speed alone was able to pull a changeup over the right field wall.
Well, normally when he's reaching across the plate, he's like reaching for a slider that's in the dirt and bounced 5 yards in front of him, and he's still swinging it at.
Well, that's the other thing. He's not selective at all. Ramirez seems to have lost his idea of where the strike zone is, and that hurt him tremendously. And he would get, even the few times he would get ahead in the count, he would hurt himself by swinging at incredibly bad pitches when he was up in the count. So now it looks like he's roping the ball on a line and making solid contact. It's important for the Indians. And we had a horribly bad outing against Junis. And, if I'm an opposing manager, I'm going to say throw off speed stuff to this team until they prove they can hit it. It's almost like we came out against Junis knowing that we had almost a 7 earned run average. He had a 7 earned run average against the Indians, and that we've pounded him mercilessly. And we just were going up there trying to murder him, and he just kept slow and slower, and we were just screwing ourselves into the ground against him. The Indians have to be more selective with their hitting and what pitches they swing at. Way too many balls in the dirt, and a lot of sliders and off-speed pitches that are just nowhere near strikes, and the Indians are swinging way over the ball. It eventually will become a problem. Buster Olney is saying, will the Tribe trade Bauer? There's still no indication within the organization whether they're going to be buyers or sellers, but I can tell you they're not going to be buyers.
They had that chance. They had the opportunity to be buyers.
And something, Hammer, you can't really question the war chest of Paul Dolan. He has none. Again, it's the same joke but different application.
You can't get to his war chest because it's over in the Cayman Islands somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. The less likely it is that Bauer's going to be traded, the closer they remain to the Minnesota Twins. So, in other words, let's not make ourselves better, for God's sake.
Okay, so if we collapse and don't trade Bauer, then the front office is going to look even more like dickheads.
Well, I mean, I think that they're about what they're about. And, here's a funny article.
How funny is it?
This is like, will tell you why, if you're a New York Giants fan, you should either, put yourself in suspended animation and, take a Rip Van Winkle drug during the football season. It's like they're talking about the most interesting, training camp things that are going on with each team. And the New York Giants, it's the Giants are going to have to make a call on the Eli Manning, Daniel Jones battle.
Ooh, we're on the edge of our seats for that one.
The over-under for starting quarterbacks for the Giants this year at 2.5. Is that?
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Manning in 576 pass attempts only threw 21 touchdowns. That's not good. The team only won 5 games. They're obviously rebuilding.
Last year.
Say again?
There's some rookie quarterback threw 27 last year. And
Yeah, who was that?
Yeah, exactly. And, and here's what the kumquat, Pat Shermer, said. Yeah, that I have my nickname for him. He is the kumquat.
The zucchini.
Yeah, the zucchini. Yes. The coconut head. He has a lot of different names.
Oh, that should be on Hard Knocks. It would be hilarious to watch Pat Shermer on Hard Knocks.
I would go back to cocky with that, but go ahead.
No, that would be Hard Cocks. That's Rox's favorite show, Hard Cocks. The cocky bobblehead. I just, that's a disgusting image, It would be like the bobblehead, but it wouldn't go down. It would just keep looking up. Sorry.
Speaking of which, we haven't seen Mr. Celery for a while.
He's in the other room. I'll get him some other day. He's stalking. He set me up and I took it. Here's what Pat Shermer said.
All week, folks.
Pat Shermer, just stare at the camera.
Get this. Pat Shermer seems up in the air about the quarterback duel, saying to ESPN's Jordan Raanan, "You never know what's going to happen." It's like, you certainly don't.
If it's up in the air, maybe you'll know where that Bukkake's going then.
Oh my God. It's like, that's what they have to look forward to in Giants land. It's like, make it stop.
He's thinking to himself, boy, it'd be nice to know what the next play we're going to run is. Oh, wait, I'm the guy that picks those.
Here's something good for you. When BleacherReport.com comes up, I have to share this because this is just literally pathetic. How the basketball season is like done, completed, free agency is done, everything is done, just forget about it. We have nothing to talk about. This is what we wind up with for a headline. Are we ready? Bingo, bango. All right. Now, I don't even need to talk about this, for God's sakes.
For God's sakes.
Dear God, or COD, if you're a little bit really more.
You know what? I'm trying to scroll down. It won't let me.
Oh, look at the name.
I have to scroll. It's my screen, you dickwad. My God, this is not like remote control. You can't control this yourself with your mind.
Should be.
That guy's name short for Maurice Bobblehead?
Yeah, the Bukkake Bobblehead. Yeah.
Is this a multiple choice question or essay or what?
No, actually, Maurice has no arms and no legs. That's why they call him Bob.
They also call him the Space Cowboy.
Yeah.
Well, with the NBA, this headline would be trade request, right?
I like Gronk's comment because it got by me the first time. Or the gangster of love, right? I know where you're coming from. Go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry.
But yeah, with this headline, with Karl Anthony Towns, it's probably a trade request knowing the NBA. So just give it 2 weeks, you'll see.
I mean, what tumultuous year? How could the Timberwolves have a tumultuous year, for God's sakes? They're the fucking Timberwolves. But they got one draft pick, and they ended up with Jarrett Culver. I mean, no, I'm sorry. It doesn't work this way.
When is the Timberwolves year not tumultuous?
Yeah, you know what? Tumultuous makes it sound interesting. They were fucking boring as fuck. So.
Yeah, I know. It's like only the Timberwolves, who no longer have Jimmy Butler, and they're going to rely on sleepy Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. It's like, we'll stop the share right there. I'm a poet and don't know it. Unbelievable stuff. And here's another great one. This is a prediction of what might happen. So I'm going to share this again with you because this is the kind of stuff in the NBA that I mean, why we're even dealing with shit like this, I have no idea. Ready for this? Here you go. This is their prediction. Yes, the Orlando Magic and the Cavs are going to swap prospects, okay? Which is more fun than watching them swap spit, okay? Now,
swap wives.
Yeah, exactly. Rick Manning. Who was he swapping with?
Dennis Eckersley.
Wow. Print the playoff tickets now.
And who was the third party?
Matt Underwood. I don't know.
Do you remember the pitcher, left-handed pitcher named Kekich?
Oh, yeah. From
Mike.
the Yankees.
Mike Kekich.
Yep, he was the third one in the great troika of swapism.
Yeah,
So now I'm going to scroll down and see what they're predicting. And you want to just choke on your spit. Here you go. Ready? The Orlando Magic receive Colin Sexton, and we get Mohamed Bamba. It's like, boy, I'll tell you, Dan Gilbert has a stroke, and they think they can trick him into this. I mean, come on, Mohamed Bamba. I mean,
Mohamed Bamba. Mohamed Bamba.
Soy Capitan, Soy Capitan. I mean,
yeah, we're going to play that song all year long, I guess.
God, I mean, the only thing that Mohamed Bamba and La Bamba have in common is that there's a flaming destruction in the end of the story. Mohamed Bamba is not a guy who's going to make it in the NBA, and we're not getting rid of Colin Sexton for a 7-foot nobody who played behind Vucevic. Please make it stop. Dear
and
God.
the reasoning doesn't make sense. Only because we drafted.
It could have been a lot worse. His last name could have been Macarena.
Oh my God! I mean, when you
play that all year long at the field house, that'd have been cool.
Yeah, and now the Wizards have offered Bradley Beal a 3-year, $111 million extension because, well, if they lose him, then they're going to be worse than the Cavaliers. So that unreal. And we'll finish out the show this way. Here's a happy ending story. Tim Duncan has joined the San Antonio Spurs staff as an assistant coach. You know, it's really exciting. Duncan said, not only am I an assistant coach, but unlike, I don't want to do this. I don't really want to do this.
Timmy will do.
Like Patrick Ewing, I can read. No. Yeah,
now we're going to be left to wonder.
I know. I always thought that Patrick Ewing would have been the perfect walk-on. You know, just to have like one of those. You know how they have background roles with all of the Return to the Planet of the Apes movies. Forget it. We're not even going to go there. If you don't know the story of Patrick Ewing, whenever he played in Providence, against Providence, when he was playing for Georgetown, the Providence fans had a chant for him, Ewing can't read, Ewing can't read. And the story I will tell you is that John Thompson, who was the head coach of Georgetown at the time, senior, not junior, when asked directly this chant, can Patrick Ewing read? And his response was, Patrick Ewing is a fine basketball player. It's like,
Not exactly a direct answer there.
No, not at all. So that was, that kind of told me everything I needed to know. That's really sad.
Define the word read.
Yeah, no. But the thing is that lawyers were coming out of Georgetown, and so did Patrick. So there you have it. So everybody gets a chance to say one thing before they go. We're going to start from the bottom of the screen with Philip Slauson. You have your last say. Fire away.
How's Timmy been doing?
How's what?
Timmy.
Oh,
thank you for asking.
Why?
I mean, would you take that weave off your head, Rox? For God's sake.
Oh, Timmy, go to timeout. Damn it.
That weave is so tight, you look like you need a windshield wiper to clean off your forehead. Oh, guys. The one thing that's really white about Rox are her teeth. Okay. Do you use one of those special whiteners? I'm just curious. Okay.
Bronx, you're next.
Oh, let's hear what Manny Acta thinks of the Indians' playoff chances.
You know, back when I had no budget, they gave no budget at all to get players. I don't even remember the names of the players because I'm getting old and I have Alzheimer's disease. Who?
Jelly Duncan.
Jelly Duncan. He could not hit, he could not field, and he could not even forge an erection. This man was no kind of player whatsoever. Not a baseball player, not a player with the ladies, not a player, period. Matter of fact, he probably had a period. I don't know what to tell you except to tell you that these people today, the Indians at least got Julio Frank. That's from I have Alzheimer's disease. They have Francisco Lindor. They got Jose Ramirez. They at least got Dominican players who can play the baseball game. And, one thing they got is Mercado, and the more Hispanics they put on the team, the more, the better would have been for me. But no, nothing ever good for me. Okay, you next, Jim Hammer.
Torn between two, but I'm going to go with when you're talking about about what John Thompson had to say about Patrick Ewing. Many years ago, I was interviewing for a job at the Ohio State Fair. And the best paying job was driving the little tractors around the parking lot that had the trailers on them to pick up people and bring them back to the front of the fair. When they asked me if I'd ever driven a tractor before, my answer was, well, my dad has a 150-acre farm in Portage County, which does not answer that question whatsoever. I'd never driven a tractor, but my thought was, farmers can do it. How hard can it be? And it really isn't that hard, but nonetheless. And then I did actually end up running one of the trailers into a highway patrol vehicle, but that's not really that important. So.
You always wonder when people are evasive with the answers to questions. I'll give you an example. It's like
not from the news.
It's like, hey, Brian, how come the president of the United States is telling American citizens to be forced out of the country into countries that they're not citizens in? And the answer would be, but the Clintons are murderers. Okay, next. We'll move over to Jake.
Mine's simple. I don't know why baseball just doesn't get netting right now after how many kids are getting hit in the stands.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that something? I mean, obviously, Francisco Lindor is calling for it after what happened at the stadium the other day. I don't know.
Well, there was a kid a few years ago I'm around the Scrapper Stadium. There's a kid that died at the first base line because the ball that was thrown it from third base and hit the kid in the face, and the kid died at the park. So I just don't understand how it's not a universal rule.
Yeah, it's because now especially, I mean, now that they're showing how fast the ball is leaving the bat. I mean, that's a regular statistic now on telecasts. And you're seeing balls upwards of 110, 112, 114 miles an hour jumping off bats. There is no reaction time, And I know Rox is saying, why don't we put little Timmy in a part of the stadium where there is no netting? Yeah. It's a good question. I wish I had an answer for you, Jake. Rick, you're next.
A little belated farewell to some baseball people who have since passed on. Jim Bouton played for the Yankees, wrote the book Ball 4.
Oh, yeah.
Created all sorts of controversy with that. And his follow-up book was great. It says, I'm glad you didn't take it personally.
Personally, yeah.
And we lost Pumpsy Green. He was the first black player for the
Red Sox.
Boston Red Sox 12 years after Jackie Robinson. They were the last American League team.
That's what I tell you about
Boston.
Time. Yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable.
Thomas Yawkey, the only man whose name is spelled with 3 Ks. Yeah. And it was announced, or I guess he did announce it, Bob Gibson, he is battling pancreatic cancer. So
really,
prayers to him. One hell of a pitcher for the Cardinals.
Boy, wasn't he though? You know, such a good pitcher that they actually had to lower the mound because he was so dominant.
Yeah, like a 1.12 average in the 68. They got outdone by Lolich in the World Series.
Yeah, and you know that was the same year that Luis Tiant had a 1.8 earned run average for the Cleveland Indians.
And I could top that. That's also the same year Denny McClain had 31 games.
31 games, yep.
So they decided they had to lower the mound. Yeah.
But Lolich was the star in the World Series.
Yeah, roly-poly Mickey Lolich. My God. 300 innings come hell or high water along with Fergie Jenkins. Those guys would throw 300 innings every single year. It was amazing. I'm glad you mentioned Jim Bouton because Ball 4 was seminal reading when I was young.
Yeah.
And it would be tame by today's standards. But I was sad to see that Bouton had suffered from Alzheimer's disease and that he was. And that he was, hospitalized and all at his death. I'd heard nothing about that. If you didn't know the other thing about Jim Bouton, besides the failed television series that he was on that was loosely based on Ball 4, was that he and his partner created Big League Chew. If you remember the bubble gum that came in the foil packs that was like
tobacco. Looked like tobacco, shredded.
Yeah, and that was Jim Bouton's invention with his partner. Rox, you get the last word. You can say anything you want.
Hard cocks.
Hard cocks. All right, thank you.
And on that happy note, all of the night.
Talk about a one-track mind.
We'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. I had a lot of fun today, and we'll be back again, as we always are on Friday, with another red-hot edition of Moohead Radio. And thanks, Bronk, for helping me out. I'm going to look more into that NFL Game Pass thing and see whether I can get the same thing.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
If it comes down to it, we can get on Zoom, Moo, and I'll just
share my screen.
I'll set the computer up in front of the TV, and you can watch it that way.
Now, so yours said 17 days, and that coincided with the what for you would be the 9th of August. So we'll see. We'll see if it works. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next time. And until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.